Hi guys, welcome to another video. So today we're back to the housing topic. So today we'll talk about the housing markets, and I'll show you which of the countries and cities that are pretty much undervalued, but those that really much by eyes is overvalued, but because of the growth it become undervalued again. So we have to understand that there are two things about the valuation. One is about the past, which is the price. One is the future, which is the growth of the country or the city. So that is pretty much the valuation I'll talk about right now. Of course, there are supply and demand policies that are implementing in countries. Those affect, but they affect mid to short-term values, right? So the longest value of the reason we're not talking about this video, but you can refer to the video I made 3 weeks ago about the interest rate. That's one key indicator about the longest term of the cycle, that is the bull market and the recession bear market. So right now I'm talking about in between is the valuation. So if you know that, if you know that it's a bull market, it's not a recession, you should then look at valuation, and then you should look at the timing, which is about the policies. We're not talking about the policies and how to choose a house, 5 rooms, bedrooms or bathrooms. We're not talking about this. We're talking about the second step, the valuation. So right now you can look at and the tools. We'll talk about some ETFs I will introduce in the next tab, and then that is another topic. We can make another full set of videos. So today we'll talk about first of all, we'll look at this website again, price to income ratio. Again, I've talked about this ratio is kind of misleading if you think that this ratio will generate a bubble or indicating a bubble going to burst. It's not. It's about given the cycle that we know right now, whether or not it's bull or bear market, and then this only about the valuation. For example, if there are biggest blue chip, for example Apple or Google, the valuation is getting really high, and that not necessarily making the economy going down to recession, right? It may, but it's not big enough to make a chain reaction. The chain reaction needs to be based on the interest rate is really high and everyone is leveraging, almost leveraging, right? And leveraging, and then they can't afford. So there's two steps, right? Yes, they can afford. Yes, some of the countries and cities, people can afford their mortgage. Individual cases can, but not majority. Almost all of them can afford. And even though not all of us are leveraging too much, okay, that is the key of the bubble. So right now, if we look at the greener is about is saying they have low price to income ratio. The highest one is really high. Okay, so I have to indicate few of the cities I think is pretty cheap. Country, in fact, the United States. I'm really into going to New York, LA, San Francisco to invest some of the housing markets, but because of all the micro reasons, for example, the politics I've mentioned about is not, it will only affect the timing. You should buy the house, but it will not affect the recession or make it a bull market or the valuation. But because of people recently, many videos attacking United States, for example the police and the gun system, stuff like that. I personally live in Canada for a really long time. I always go to the United States, but I have to care about the timing. I have to and the location, choice of location is pretty much important, right? So in this case, and also there comes along with many mortgages and rental issues, right? I have to follow, and banking issues, mortgage issues. So I think the United States is really cheap, but this time the tool that I use not literally buying the house, I would use the ETFs. Because there are many choices for ETFs. And the second one I want you to focus is Malaysia. That is the reason I keep on going to Malaysia to explore, because Malaysia is pretty much still really cheap in terms of the Asia growing countries right now. So that is exactly why I bought 2 units of the condo, you can say an apartment, in the heart of the Malaysia, which is Kuala Lumpur, and then the heart of Kuala Lumpur is the Twin Tower, right? So I have 2 units that is pre-construction. I know I've been talking bad stuff about pre-construction, but you have to understand the builders so you have if they're ripping you off or not. Most of the case they rip you off. Okay, they will protect their risk by transferring the risk to you, so that when you get a house 3 years later, they have already profited from you, and then you have to still bear 1 or 2 years of the market down the risk, and then you can profit. So that's another topic. And the other one you can think of is Canada and Australia. In fact, it's not as expensive because people actually living there is affordable. I know this really controversial arguments, because people say that, oh yeah, because of the Chinese and part of the Indians coming back and forth to the countries, then making the housing prices going up, right? But especially in yes, you can say that in Canada, right? But Australia, I went there and last time to Sydney to hosting my seminar and the classes. I see the renovation and the how they build a house. They most likely completely rip off the whole house and then make it a townhouse, or make it 2 to 3 houses, or make it an apartment. They like to do that, and it's not a beautiful thing. It's just individuals, my students, my friends, right? But in Canada, I can't see as much as this going on. If you say that, yeah, there's stuff like that going on in Canada, right? Go to Sydney and Melbourne, you see. In Melbourne and Sydney, I thought everyone was doing that, right? Go to Toronto and Vancouver. Not everyone is doing that. So if people investing in Australia, especially Australia, Sydney and Melbourne, don't be a cheapskate, nickel and dime, and go to somewhere else that are not having the biggest, largest growth with the hugest demand that they can fulfill. You should go to a place that they cannot fulfill the demands always. If that's a little bit expensive, go buy it. Still you can buy it. So if they come to invest in this housing market, they will create jobs, more jobs in Sydney than in Toronto. So these are the insights I want to share about. And for example, for example, that to prove what I mean by the pricing, if that's more expensive to buy a smaller house, you should buy it. For example, the 2 units that I bought in the Malaysia, KL, with the price I paid, I just outside of the 2 kilometers, outside of the so-called the Twin Tower Zone, I can already buy a 4-bedroom to 5-bedroom, a little swimming pool easily. Okay, but it won't grow, right? That is the case. For example, in Japan, I'm not suggesting Japan because Japan in the past 5 years, you see, is not as red. Okay, it's really, you look pretty cheap, right? But there's no growth, there's no CPI, there's no inflation, right? So buying into that, the payrolls are not going up, the housing market not going up, the stock market will go up and down because of the speculation, but the economy is not going up, right? In the past 5 years, every single country almost going up, and Japan as a whole is yielding a negative 4% drop, okay? But in fact, if you know how to choose a house in the heart of Tokyo, in the heart of Osaka, you can really buy a house that is in the past 5 years, it is yielding you a return of 70% plus. Okay, that is how you should buy the house market in heart of heart. I purchased houses in Toronto, in Hong Kong. I've been using this theory for long term. Don't nickel and dime or move to the next street because it's cheaper. There's a reason why it's cheaper. That's what I'm saying. So I basically talk about which countries are pretty cheap, which countries seemingly not cheap, but the growth is there, and especially I talk about the cities, right? So right now, for me, if you want to invest in United States, or you're living in United States that you don't have enough money, or just like me, you're not living in United States, there are some policies or some stuff that you really don't want to go through, you can look at these ETFs. You can go for the real estate section. Or this one you have bought, meaning just in general real estate, right? Don't choose worldwide, because now you understand the housing market more. If you choose global real estate, it's not getting you anywhere. You're just tying the inflation, right? If you choose, you can choose as a whole as the US. If there's some specific ETFs, you can choose specific in the furthest east coast and furthest west coast. That's why I want to suggest. The second way you can choose, I don't really suggest the mortgage REITs, but if you're going for the dividend, yes, you can do that. And the second way you can choose is the home builders. Let me find it. Home builders here. Home builders. So find the biggest volume, not biggest asset, biggest volume, which is in fact the biggest asset, is iShare US Home Construction. That is in general the US home construction builders. And if you have watched my video, I talk about the second largest home construction is more than half is owned by Chinese. So it's unavoidable, this trend. If you want to avoid the chance of immigrants and stuff, in Hong Kong we experienced that, in Toronto we experienced that. You should be independent. It should be really hard. It should be the policies solely isolated and independent, not welcoming anyone, right? But that's in fact not Australia, Canada, and United States doing. So this share, you can click into that. You can look at they are majorly investing in big companies. You can look at the perspectives, and the assets are pretty high, pretty large. So it's pretty safe if you want to sell or buy your ETF. The turnover is also high. So that's my update for you right now. I can also talk about other countries, but I'm not investing. But I can talk about Canada more or Vancouver more. But that's majorly, briefly, what I've studied the most is United States, East Coast, West Coast, and Vancouver, Toronto, Melbourne, Sydney, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore. Yes, but I'm not investing in Hong Kong and China. Other than that, I've also studied, for example, Germany, but they have a system just like Canada. The rental fee is capped, so I cannot raise my rental income because of the housing prices have gone up. So that's pretty much unfair. I cannot have a less of a chance to cover my mortgage. That is the biggest issue. So I can talk about the ETF more. That's another topic. I can talk about the heart of art or the city more. Just ask me questions, and I will, according to your questions, I will make you a set of videos again as long as I know the answers. Okay. So I'll see you next time. Remember to like and share this video to your friends if you find it useful, and if my English is still bearable, right? Because I have my points, but you know, my English is my second language. Basically, I just want to share my research, the angles, because I enjoy filming videos on YouTube. That's how I learn my guitar and investment also. I'll see you next time. Investing be easy.